twofold. What's joy is pain on the other hand. And what happens when the one that you love is the main cause of your suffering? I need you like I need air.
Hello, welcome to Emerging Motherhood. I would like to reintroduce myself. Now that I've started posting my episodes to YouTube, I feel like I should reintroduce myself to YouTube because while this has been my podcast for a few years, I started it in 2020. I just started posting it to YouTube. So if you want to listen, if you're that interested and you want to listen to the audio only versions, there's 25 episodes that are posted on Spotify, Pandora, iHeartRadio, like anywhere where you can listen to podcasts. You can listen to the first 25 episodes, including the last 3 that were just posted. And then going forward, they're going to be simultaneously posted audio and YouTube. For now, I wanted to kind of reintroduce myself. I'm a single mom. I have 4 children. I live in Denver, Colorado. I'm a certified nurse assistant. I do this podcast. I'm also a bartender. Shout out to Trevor. If you like this podcast, I would appreciate if you can subscribe, comment, like this video, anything, because it will help me with YouTube. Okay. One of my children is disabled. She has Down syndrome, so I'm also a special needs mom. My family's been on a Make-A-Wish trip. That was a pretty cool thing. I'd love to tell that story someday. And she's had 4 open heart surgeries. She doesn't need any more for right now. We're hoping she's just good. I was married for 10 years and I got a divorce. I asked for the divorce in August of 2019 and then it was finalized in October of 2020. So pretty much the bulk of the divorce process happened through COVID. And that's kind of what spawned this podcast. That and my formative years, everything culminated to this point. I do feel like my journey and my path got me here and this is where I'm supposed to be. So thank you for being here with me. And I'm gonna get into like the moments of how I asked for the divorce, like specifically exactly what happened and how it all happened. I'm just gonna give you a little background of who I am just so that, I don't know, because I like to know who I'm learning from. Like I wanna know who you are, what you're all about. Why should I listen to what you have to say, kind of, or how can I relate to you in some way? So like I said, I'm 40 years old, I'm a single mother in Denver, I'm a bartender and certified nurse assistant. I grew up in New Jersey and Connecticut, like the upper East Coast. I still have some family there. I'm Puerto Rican, 100%, mother and father. I've never been there. It's expensive to travel. I cook the food, I dance the music. I love my people, my culture. I love it. When I was like about 12 years old, we moved to Florida and that is where I met Mandy. You've seen her on a few of the previous episodes and if you were listening to the audio, she's been on a few more, like I think 3 or 4 episodes, but she moved out here kind of to help me with my kids. And as much as we would have loved that when she moved out here, the podcast immediately blew up and had all this money and we didn't have any issues or problems to take care of, that's not what happened. We kind of talk about it a little bit on some of the episodes. Like we have lives and we have real shit going on. So she has real shit to get back to. It turned out instead of a lifetime, it was just for a season. So she's going back home to take care of life and shit she has. So for the good of all and harm of none. But for the previous episodes, when you've heard me mention her or you've seen her on it, that's who she was. And that's it. I stayed in Florida until I was like 24. It just, something didn't like sit right. I didn't really like it. I grew up in a really traditional home with Puerto Rican parents, so it was very gender roles. You know, mom did the cooking and cleaning, dad worked on the cars and cut the grass, and so I just grew up expecting that I was going to be a wife and a mother. That's kind of where the name Emerging Motherhood came from because I grew up in motherhood. I grew up expecting to be a mother. As a little girl, I was a mother already because it was just expected I was going to be a mother. I didn't really have much outlets for anything else. I remember as a kid, sometimes I would be like telling my dad like, oh, it'd be so cool to be like an archaeologist. And he was like, you can't do that. Literally, like you can't do that. That's for boys, that you can't do that. And I was like, oh, you know, I think it'd be really cool to be a lawyer. And he was like, that's a man's, no, that's for men. No, it's a dog eat dog, don't, Any position or career I brought up, my dad would shoot it down as like a man's role. Like I just didn't, it was not taught to me that you could do other things. And so at 24, when I was feeling the internal struggles of how what I wanted to do in my heart, but what I felt I was supposed to do with my life were conflicting, and I had all these conflicting feelings and thoughts and emotions, instead of dealing with them, I thought if I moved, I could fix the problem. I could run away from my problem, so to speak. I had been in an abusive relationship at that point by then. And so I was just trying to run away from a lot of stuff. And so that's why I came out to Denver. And I moved out here in like 2007. And so growing up with really traditional parents, very gendered, I was in the kitchen expected to learn how to cook and help take care of everything. I knew how my father took his, I still know how my father takes his coffee. My parents, I think they kind of felt like we do the raising and the rearing and we bring her to church to give her all the morals and lessons. And like, that's how you raise kids. Like we crack the code. We know what the fuck we're doing. So I went to Catholic school until I was in like 4th grade. And then on and off, we went to church all throughout my growing up. So at 24, when I moved out to Colorado, I was extremely naive, extremely just rose-colored glasses. I think my parents did the best that they could. They gave me all the tools and everything that they could. I was super naive. I think my parents tried super hard and just gave me all the information and life experience that they could. And they thought like church and Christianity was gonna kind of spackle and fill in the rest. And I think with my willingness to be naive and my just, okay, you know, I just kind of went along with everything. It was a bad mix when I got out to Denver by myself. So I moved out here in about May of 2007. By June of 2009, I was married. The minute I got here, I got a job. I met this guy. Yeah, within 2 years we were married. And I don't like to say I was a victim. I say I was like a naive participant because I was participating in what was going on. I knew in my gut, I saw the red flags. I knew what was happening. I was just like still participating because I didn't know you could do anything else. So I was like a naive participant. I wasn't some victim. I'm not like crying and hoping everybody, you know, feel bad for me. I'm just saying, I think a lot of people have these life experiences and don't know how to talk about them in a way that doesn't paint them as a victim. And they don't know how to talk about it in a way that still empowers them, but is also honest to their truth. So I hope I can help you with that. When I met the man that I eventually married, I was so naive. We worked together and we were on a softball team. And after one of the games, he was like, hey, what are you doing after this? You know, can we go back to your place? And I was like, oh, sure, yeah. I didn't know what go back to your place meant. I had no idea. I didn't know that was a euphemism for everything. I thought he meant let's go back to your house and hang out. Our first time was not completely consensual on my end. And it took me 10 years of marriage and many years of therapy to finally get the nerve to even tell this person. So that was like a huge red flag. But because of my Christian growing up, I felt like, well, I've already sinned and fallen short of the glory of God with this person, so I have to try to make this relationship work. So I did, and I tried, and we dated for a little while. And that kind of ran constant in our marriage. It was not something that stopped in our dating life. It was something that was like, that sort of abuse was constant. Anyway, abuse escalates. And so as our relationship continued and as our marriage progressed, and as the children came, because we started having children immediately, I was married in 2009, I had my first child in 2010. So it was like boom, 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 like meet, marry, you know, that love bombing, that like, I got you, I need you, I have you. But I was like a little bit young and naive, and I was, you know, growing up to think, oh, men are gonna take care of you. You need to find a good man that's gonna take care of you. So I was like, okay, this must mean he's serious about me. This must mean he's a good man. So abuse escalates, and I think as the children came and as our relationship lasted, and as he knew, like, dead ass, I'm a pretty fucking faithful person. I think growing up in the type of home and family I grew up in, where love is rich and plentiful, it didn't dawn on me that somebody's being mean to you because they're being abusive. I thought like you're just having a bad day or something, like, you know, I would write it off because like, no, love wins. Love first, love. I didn't understand. It's projection, but not in the bad way. Like, I thought this person is gonna treat me the way I would treat him. I would never hurt you intentionally. I would never, I married you, I'm gonna be your faithful wife until I die, because that's what you do. You fight for love. Love sometimes hurts, sometimes love is hard, you know, all the fucking cliche things. Not realizing that that's like outside of abuse. It doesn't mean you accept abuse. Love, you know, You fight for love when it's like, you're not gonna be working so much overtime because you wanna come home and spend time with your wife, you know, or your spouse, not love wins because, you know, you're fighting with your partner to stop drinking every night. It's different. And as our marriage progressed, and as like I just kept noticing kind of this attitude of like, rule for thee but not for me. He could spend money but I couldn't. You know, there were so many things that he would do that I couldn't do, and every time I brought it up it was explained in some strange way, and I was like, it's not really making sense to me. It really just sounds like you get everything and I get nothing. But you know, I'm gonna hold on a little longer, and I would try. I would hear the way he spoke to other people, and I think this is a big thing that people need to be aware of. Somebody who sounds really progressive. Like, I remember one time we had this Christmas party and we had friends over, and this girl was talking about music and shit like that, and he was like, oh yeah, a woman's autonomy. He was like using these words that I was like, what does that even mean? And then he'd explain it to me and I'd be like, oh, so you know what that means, being able to have your own identity outside of somebody. I get to have my own opinions. I get to pick which toothpaste we have. I get to pick sometimes. I get to have a say. You know what that means? You know, not only do you know what that means, you knew that there was a word for it. And I've been arguing with you about this for all these years. And not only did you know what it was, you knew there was a word for it. And you're over here talking to other people about it, but it's not something that I get in our relationship. I was just always so confused. Because for me, the positive projection, I was like, well, I know there must be some confusion that he can't see the link. He must be missing it. I know he loves, there's no way, blah, blah. I didn't understand that there are people out there that are willing to just use and abuse and use like nothing, like Bad Vegan, Tinder Swindler, all the fucking documentaries that you see about people just using people and abusing people. I didn't know that that was real. I thought that shit was only in movies. I was like, no way are there really fucking bad guys that are mean like that. No fucking way, no. Anyway, I learned quite a few fucking lessons in my 20s, and that's why I'm here trying to share them with you in my 40s, because now that I live in Colorado, it's funny, I like to hike, I like to be outdoors, and one of the like mottos and things that you kind of live by is like, leave it better. If you go hiking, you know, pack it in, pack it out. If you bring it with you, make sure you bring it out. That means wrappers, everything. And then leave it better. If you are on the trail and you notice some trash, pick it up. It's not gonna hurt you. Leave it better than you found it. So I was so fucking naive. I think I was married for 10 years. Even after seeing all these red flags, noticing them, pointing them out, trying to talk. My mother was a domestic violence advocate her whole fucking career. This woman, from when she was in her, like, she kind of stumbled into it in her 40s. And then she always worked in either domestic violence shelters or advocacy centers or the courthouse. She just always did something. And my mother would be like, Anita, this is fucking domestic violence. And I would be like, Mommy,
could you please chill? This is like such an exaggeration. Okay, chill the fuck out. I'm not stupid. I'm not a fucking idiot. I'm not being no fucking domestically violated, violenced, whatever the fuck.
I was just, you know, no way could it be me. And now looking back, it's like the frog in boiling water. I don't know if you've ever heard the story. I'm gonna read the actual metaphor because it's an actual metaphor. I could tell you the bullshit ass version, but let's be proper today, okay? If you drop a frog in a pot of boiling water, it will of course frantically try to clamber out. But if you place it gently in a pot of tepid water and turn the heat on low, it will float there, quiet, placidly. As the water gradually heats up, the frog will sink into a tranquil stupor, exactly like one of us in a hot bath. And before long, with a smile on its face, it will unresistingly allow itself to be boiled to death. That's exactly what being in an abusive relationship is like. You don't know it's abusive. It starts out great. This person loves you. Everything's amazing. They want to marry you. They want to be with you. They want whatever you want, they want it. Because all they're trying to do is mirror you. Because you're projecting your happiness, your pure heart, your naivete. You didn't know bad guys like this exist. You're projecting that positivity onto this really dark person. They're picking it up and mirroring it to you. And you're like, oh my God. And they're like, and then you find yourself like the frog in boiling water. You don't realize you're in such deep shit. You don't realize how shitty the situation has become. You slowly think everything was your decision. Well, I didn't like those bracelets. They were really jangly. I know they bothered him, but I took them off. No big deal. I know he didn't like my friend. But, you know, yeah, she kind of annoys me too. Yeah, I'll go ahead and stop talking to her too. You're right. And then slowly you pull away from all the things you once knew and loved. And now you're in this relationship and it's all you have. And if when you look around, you can kind of see how you were the frog in the boiling water. I started to like piece things together. And as I started to learn too, learning like became super important to me because I was like,
Okay, this word autonomy that I just fucking learned. Let's learn some more fucking words here.
consent, coercion, boundary, triggers. I remember when I learned triggers, I thought that meant it was my job to control the triggers for him. So now I've learned, okay, I got another word. I'm gonna make this marriage work. I learned what triggers meant. And I'm like, hey guys, it really triggers daddy when we do this. It triggers daddy with this. And I thought, oh, it's just my job to be the like warden for all these triggers. Well, no, that's, no. You learn what your triggers are. You learn how to calm yourself down when you're triggered, because that's what grown-ups do. You place boundaries that are necessary to help you manage your own triggers, because that's all your personal responsibility. It is our job to continue to learn and grow and adapt to situations, to our environments, and in our relationships, so we can grow together or we can grow apart. And that's what happened in our marriage. We started to grow apart. I started to notice all these inconsistencies, things that I felt were unfair. And I said, okay, that's it, we're done. And with all the, my mom was in my ear. I had other friends in my ear. We would lose friends from time to time. And I was like, man, what keeps happening that we keep losing friends? We can't hold relationships down. Like, what the fuck is going on? Okay, I know what was going on. Everybody, these people could see. And I was his number one enabler, his number one flying monkey that stood by his side. And as he screwed people over in business deals and screwed people over this way, that way, and the other, I was like, well, I'm his wife, so I gotta be there. And I just got tired of it. I got super tired of backing him. So finally I was like, okay, well, I'm gonna start to pretend like I'm a single mom, because I gotta kind of practice before I do this, before they're like a real deal. I got a job. I became a certified nurse assistant. I was making good enough money, and I realized, okay, I was like doing the math and realized, okay, well, if I don't have him and his bills and his things, I think I could actually do this. But then school supply season came up. And so now this is where I'm gonna get into the story of how I actually asked for the divorce, because people always ask me this story. If you go back and listen to the first episode of Emerging Motherhood, the audio version, it gives other details into this story, and you could kind of weave them both together. Okay, so I needed school supplies that year. We didn't have enough money, and I was watching the show Younger on TV, and the girl starts selling her panties to make enough money. And I jokingly said, hey, should we do that? Like, I don't really care. We need money. The kids need school supplies. And he was like, oh yeah. And since sexual abuse was kind of really a big part of our relationship, he jumped on that opportunity since I invited it in. He said, well, if they're gonna wanna buy it, they're gonna wanna see it. So we're gonna have to like take some videos and post it. And literally I had never masturbated. I didn't know anything about how to touch yourself, what to do. Wasn't even sure if I had orgasms in sex. I was like, I don't, okay, I'm kind of uncomfortable with that idea. But we still charged forward. He got me verified on the hub, the big one, the orange one. I was not a willing participant, but I was told what to do and I did it. And these videos of me were posted on the internet and I had no control over it. This was maybe like a 3-week adventure that we did that literally blew up our marriage. It was in August that I asked for the divorce. So this literally was just the summer of 2019. Like starting at the end of school, I was like, oh shit, we need school supplies for the upcoming school year. And I was trying to figure out ways. And so right around July and August of 2019, this is when it all blew up. And I said, okay, so I guess we're gonna, do this. And he's like, well, if we want people to go to your hub, we're gonna have to promote it. So we should go to Reddit. And so then he was posting pictures of me to Reddit. And then he's like, well, if you're gonna be on Reddit, you're gonna have to interact with these people. So you're gonna have to make an account. And so then all of a sudden, he became the most willing partner to wash the dishes, watch the kids, give them baths, and do everything, as long as I was sitting on the couch and like texting these weird men. And then all of a sudden, one of the men like really kept contacting me. And I was like, who is this person? And the way he interacted with me, I really thought it was my husband. So I was like, hey, is this you? Like, are you playing along, like just trying to keep it going, or what's going on? He was like, no, it's not me. And I was like, okay, this really feels like you, but whatever. So I'm finally getting a chance to sit down. He's doing everything I've ever asked him to do. Stellar husband of the world. Love bombing me through the roof because he's also abusing the shit out of me at night with a video camera. And this guy is texting me and I'm like, okay, whatever. And then at one point, the guy says, well, I really want to send you a picture of my junk and let you know what it looks like. And I was like, okay, sure. I don't care. I was like literally just doing this because I needed school supply money, and I was told that if I did this, I could post videos and I could make money and my kids would have what they needed. So I was like, okay, my husband's doing it, so I guess it's okay. I don't know, but I didn't like it. So this guy sends me a picture holding his junk. And I was like, I know whose junk that is. I looked at the picture. He was literally wearing his wedding pants because this person that he created online was a finance guy in New York City, and he was gonna buy all my videos and give me all this money, and he was like promising me the world, like telling me everything I wanted to hear that I was like supposed to be doing for my mission online. Like it was the most weird, like fucked up game. And when it all, like my kids were asleep, like he thought it was gonna be this cute, so my kids went to bed and he was like, well, I'm gonna go get some work done while you hang out on the couch. Just keep talking to your guys, like do what you have to do. And I was like, okay. So I'm sitting there on the couch like, do. Little did I know he's just in the other room, and that's when he was gonna do the big reveal, and we were gonna have this moment where we reconnected and are in love again because he's catfished me online. He was able to tell me everything I wanted to hear. So of course I'm gonna like, this was how he was rekindling our marriage. So when I got the picture, I was like, those are your wedding pants. That's your hand. That's your junk. I know what I'm looking at. I ran into the bedroom and I was like, what? And just, I thought of revenge porn. All I could think of was, you have all these videos and images and me participating in everything. And I'm a mother to 4 children. I'm literally on the district accountability committee for my school. I helped design the buildings that they have for the 4 new elementary schools. I was on the design committee for those. Like, I've become a very well-respected member of my community and mother of 4 children. And now you have videos of me that I willingly did. You're just gonna try to destroy me. You're gonna try to take my children and destroy me, and you're gonna hold it against me. So I felt I had no choice but to publicly out myself first. You're gonna call me a whore, I'll call myself a whore first, because I know what I am, I know what I'm worth, and I'm not intimidated by anybody. There's plenty of women prettier than me, smarter than me, funnier than me. I'm not in competition with nobody else. I'm living my life for me. So when all that happened, I just remember the confusion and the hurt and feeling like so betrayed, and that was it. That was the end of the I was like, we're not doing this anymore. Sent him away. I said, you can't sleep here. I don't trust you. I'm confused. I'm scared. And he was going along with what I wanted at that point because he was trying to save the marriage still. I said, you can be here in the morning. We're going to take the kids out to breakfast. The next morning was a Sunday. And he got there before the kids woke up, tried to talk to me, sweet talk me, and I was like, no, we're not doing this. I said, we're gonna go to IHOP and we're gonna give our children one last family moment that they can naively sit in and think that their life is perfect. And then we're gonna come home and we're gonna tell them, and then you're gonna watch them for the whole day like you've been doing, because I know you know how, and I'm gonna go out on a date, okay? And that's exactly what we did. We went to IHOP. Order whatever the hell you want. Whatever you want, pancakes, you want pancakes, I will get all the fucking pancakes. We had, I took a picture of them and I look at it from time to time because they were just like, what the fuck? And it was, maybe it was just one of my last treasured moments where I could pretend everything was okay. My family growing up wasn't perfect. I thought I could create the perfect family, and so when he watched the kids, what I did was I went to the bedroom, signed up on Tinder, literally just, I was just like, yes. Every time I got a match, I would check if I liked the person. What are you doing today? Do you want to get some ice cream? Do you want to get some coffee? Blah, blah, blah. I just needed to, I am a very faithful person. When I said my marriage vows, I meant them. Like, I try to be really true to my fucking word. I try, I'm not fucking perfect. I knew if I broke our marriage by like kissing another man or doing something else, I knew in my heart I would know the marriage was broken. That's what I needed to do for it to really be broken and to really follow through this time. I knew I wouldn't follow through. I would probably fall back if I didn't like go outside of the marriage or do something really what I felt was horrific to the marriage. So signed up on Tinder, and I still remember the guy's name. His name was Brian. He was shorter than me and so fucking kind. And I met him at this Punch Bowl social. It was the first time I ever went there. I wasn't somebody that went to bars and shit. I had been a mom to kids. And I told him the story on our date. I was like, yeah, I literally just asked my husband for a divorce yesterday. I'm a bit lost in the world. And he was like, it's okay, it's okay. He was super cool with it. We stayed in touch for like 6 months. It was fun. And it started quite a fucking journey. And that's what started this podcast. I decided I am a mother, but I'm gonna emerge from the fucking pigeonhole that society places on mothers. I'm gonna be who the fuck I am, whether I had children or did not have children. I'm gonna raise them as people that will one day go out of my home and live their own lives. When they do that, I hope that they experience the fullness of life and don't feel an ounce of guilt for the people at home, like mom. I truly believe when you love somebody, if it's important to you, it's important to me. And I think freedom and autonomy and confidence are more important than making my kids think that having a mom and a dad in their home is what makes a home perfect. So I now get to raise my children as the mother that I always thought I was going to be. I've built stronger and deeper relationships with each of them. I'm able to be there for them. Even though I'm not there 100% of the time because we split custody 50-50, the time that I am with them is so rich. It's quality, not quantity anymore. And if I'm being honest, when I was married and doing everything, it was really quantity, not quality. I was a zombie half the time when they were with me, but they had me all the time. And now, yeah, it is only 50% of the time, and I have no control over what happens at dad's house. I don't even control to be able to talk to them when they're there. But what I do have is a love for myself so that when they are gone, I'm not just a miserable puddle of tears. I actually have a boyfriend. I met him on Tinder. We'll get into that more. But yeah, that's Anitza. And that's where Emerging Motherhood came from, why it started. And going forward, I have a lot of plans and goals. Thank you for listening and watching. So that is kind of how I got here. That's how this podcast started. If you want to listen to more, if this does seem interesting and you're like, hey, I'm down to listen to a podcast, there's plenty of content posted right now on all the streaming services. But from now on, like I said, all the videos and audio versions will be posted weekly on YouTube. If you could like and subscribe and comment, that's very helpful. And in closing, I just want to read this quote by Marianne Williamson. I heard it in college and it stuck with me, and it sits with me to this day. Our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. We ask ourselves, who am I to be brilliant, gorgeous, talented, fabulous? Actually, who are you not to be? As we let our light shine, we unconsciously give other people permission to do the same. As we are liberated from our own fear, our presence actually liberates others. So let your light shine. I love you.